Alex Carter stared at the blinking screen in the dark archive room, his eyes tired but filled with curiosity. The lunar facility was quiet and cold, a place that had been forgotten for centuries by most of humanity. Dust covered the metallic floors and the walls held records of a past that few could remember. Alex worked as an analyst, studying old files and data that had been left behind when humans had moved further into space. Today he found something unusual, an encrypted registry with dates that did not match anything in human history. He called over Lily Hartwell, a commander who had been overseeing some of the lunar missions. Lily walked into the room, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. She bent down to look at the screen, her expression showing interest and a hint of worry. Alex explained that the registry spoke of ships that had existed long before any empires or governments had formed in space. These were not ships humans had built recently, but vessels from a forgotten age. Lily frowned. She had spent her life in space and thought she knew human history well, but this was something else entirely. The registry mentioned names, dates, and coordinates, but most of it was coded in a way that only a careful mind could understand. Alex worked quickly, fingers flying over the keyboard, deciphering fragments of information. As he worked, he imagined the vast emptiness of space, wondering where these old ships might be. He felt a thrill run through him, a mix of fear and excitement. The idea that humanity had built something before anyone knew how to call themselves an empire made his heart beat faster. Lily stood behind him, occasionally pointing out patterns in the data. They found maps of sectors far beyond the reach of current space exploration. The registry included designs for warships, their descriptions almost like legends, but detailed enough to understand their power. Some of the ships were said to be enormous, able to carry hundreds of people and weapons beyond modern comprehension. Alex and Lily spent hours going through the information, piecing together what had been hidden for thousands of years. They realized that if even one of these ships still existed, it could change everything humanity knew about its past and future. They debated quietly about what to do next. Should they report it to the central authorities, or should they investigate first and uncover the truth themselves? Alex felt that the discovery was too important to be hidden or ignored. He imagined what it would be like to see a ship from a time long forgotten, a relic of human ingenuity that no one remembered. Lily agreed, though she worried about the risks. They knew that reaching the coordinates in the registry would be dangerous. Space was vast and unpredictable, and there were no guarantees that the ships had survived. Despite the danger, they could not resist the pull of history and the chance to witness something truly extraordinary. Over the next few days, Alex and Lily worked to prepare for the journey. They gathered supplies, planned their route, and simulated possible scenarios. Each night they would look out of the small windows of the lunar facility, imagining the journey ahead. Their minds were filled with visions of ancient ships drifting silently in the darkness. Engines cold, waiting for someone to awaken them. They wondered about the people who had built them and why they had disappeared from history. Alex could not stop thinking about the technology described in the registry. Some of it seemed impossible, beyond anything humanity had now. It was as if the builders had known things that modern scientists had only dreamed of. He shared his thoughts with Lily, who nodded, equally fascinated and cautious. Together, they studied old manuals and schematics, trying to understand the design of the ships. They imagined the control rooms, the corridors, and the bridges where people had once walked. Every detail they uncovered added to the sense of wonder and the mystery of the past. One evening, as they pored over a particularly detailed schematic, the lights flickered. Alex and Lily paused, looking at each other, feeling the weight of the moment. The past was calling to them, and they were ready to answer. They realized that they had to find these ships before anyone else did, to uncover the truth and preserve the legacy of humanity. The journey would be long, and the dangers were unknown, but their determination was strong. They knew that history was waiting for them, hidden among the stars, and they were ready to reach out and grasp it. Each step they took in preparation brought them closer to the forgotten fleet. The excitement of discovery drove them forward. Alex felt a mixture of nervousness and anticipation as he thought about the first ship they might find. It was more than a machine. It was a link to the ancestors of humanity, a connection to a time no one could remember. Lily shared his feeling, and together they planned their mission with care. The registry hinted at more than just ships. It spoke of a forgotten era, of struggles and achievements that had shaped humanity long before modern history began. Alex and Lily discussed these ideas, imagining the people who had lived in that time, the challenges they had faced, and the dreams they had held. They felt a deep respect for these forgotten humans, realizing that their work had survived the centuries in silence. The night before their departure, Alex sat alone in the control room, looking at the stars through the window. He thought about the journey ahead and the mystery that awaited them. He felt a sense of responsibility, knowing that they were about to uncover something that could change humanity forever. Lily joined him, and they shared a quiet moment of anticipation and resolve. The archive room felt alive with history, the air charged with the potential of discovery. They knew that once they set out, nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, they boarded their small exploration ship, ready to follow the registry's coordinates into the unknown. Their hearts were filled with hope, fear, and excitement. They were about to witness the remnants of a time long forgotten, and the story of humanity was about to expand beyond anything they had imagined. Alex and Lily exchanged a final glance, understanding each other without words. The adventure was beginning, and the ancient warships were waiting to reveal their secrets to those brave enough to seek them. Captain Ryan Porter stood at the control console of the exploration ship, watching the dark expanse of space stretch endlessly before them. The coordinates from the registry guided them into uncharted regions, far beyond the reach of regular human travel. The journey had been long, and the crew had grown used to the quiet hum of the engines and the soft vibrations beneath their feet. Engineer Maria Logan moved along the corridors, checking systems and making adjustments to ensure the ship remained ready for any challenge. Technician Chad Rivers monitored the scanners, his eyes never leaving the blinking lights that might signal a discovery. The tension among the crew was a mix of fear and excitement, knowing they were about to encounter something no one had seen for millennia. After several days of careful navigation, the scanners picked up a massive object drifting in the darkness. It was unlike anything they had encountered, a huge structure that seemed alive with the weight of history. The crew gathered around the main console, their faces lit by the soft glow of the screens. Ryan leaned forward, his hands gripping the edges of the console, his mind racing with the possibilities. Maria and Chad worked quickly to adjust their approach, making sure the ship could safely come closer without triggering any unknown defenses. As they drew nearer, the outlines of the vessel became clearer. It was enormous, with a design that spoke of power and purpose, far beyond any current human technology. The hull was sleek, but massive, sections that hinted at weaponry and engines that could move through space with unmatched speed. Ryan felt a shiver run through him. This was one of the ships from the registry, a relic of an age that had been lost to time. They named it Dawn's Legacy, feeling the weight of its history and the mystery it carried. The crew prepared to board, donning suits that would protect them from the unknown environment. Every movement was careful and deliberate as they approached the airlock that would take them inside. Maria and Chad were the first to step in, their boots echoing on the metallic floors of the ancient ship. The corridors were vast and dimly lit, filled with the hum of dormant systems slowly coming to life. Ryan followed, feeling the energy of the ship as if it were aware of their presence. The control room was breathtaking, with consoles and panels covered in symbols that none of them fully recognized. Ancient lights flickered as power gradually returned to the systems, and a soft voice spoke from the ship's AI. It introduced itself with a calm, measured tone, explaining that it had been waiting for the moment to awaken and serve humanity once more. The AI spoke of a fleet built to protect and defend, designed long before modern governments or empires existed. The crew listened in awe, realizing that the technology and knowledge contained in the ship could change the course of human history. They explored the ship, discovering rooms for crews that no longer existed, weapon systems that had been forgotten, and engines capable of speeds that defied current understanding. Each discovery added to the sense of wonder and the realization of how advanced their ancestors had been. Ryan felt the responsibility of command weigh heavily on him. This was more than a ship. It was a link to a forgotten past and a key to humanity's future. Maria and Chad worked tirelessly to understand the systems, their expertise pushing the ship closer to full functionality. They ran tests and simulations, learning to operate controls that had not been touched in thousands of years. As the days passed, the crew formed a bond with the ship, understanding its rhythms and respecting its history. The AI became a guide, teaching them about the capabilities of the vessel and the purpose for which it had been built. The ship had been designed to confront a threat that humanity had never seen, a danger that had forced their ancestors to prepare in secret. Ryan realized that awakening the ship was only the beginning. They would need to locate the other vessels mentioned in the registry. To fully understand the scale of the fleet and the potential it held, the journey to find these additional ships promised challenges that would test their courage, skill, and resolve. As they prepared for departure, the crew gathered in the main control room. Looking at the stars that stretched infinitely beyond, Ryan spoke, his voice steady but filled with emotion. They had uncovered something extraordinary, a piece of history that no one had believed existed. They were about to become part of a story that began long before their time, carrying forward the legacy of those who had built the fleet to ensure humanity's survival. The engines of Dawn's legacy roared to life, filling the corridors with vibrations and the soft hum of power. The ship responded to every command, a seamless fusion of ancient technology and modern human skill. They navigated carefully, leaving the safety of their exploration ship behind as they prepared to venture further into space. Seeking the remaining vessels, each day brought new discoveries, small and large, as they learned more about the ship's systems and capabilities. The crew grew closer, united by their shared mission and the excitement of exploring what had been hidden for centuries. They encountered floating debris and remnants of past civilizations, a reminder of the dangers that awaited them in the vast emptiness. Yet the presence of Dawn's legacy gave them confidence, its ancient design and power a beacon of hope in the darkness. Ryan and Maria spent long hours in the control room discussing strategy and exploring ways to maximize the ship's potential. Chad monitored the sensors, tracking signals that might lead them to the other ships. Each signal was a possibility, a clue to the larger mystery of the fleet. The crew faced doubts and fears, but they did not allow them to overshadow their determination. They knew that finding the remaining ships was critical, not just for understanding history, but for ensuring humanity's survival in the face of threats they had not yet encountered. As they continued their journey, the stars seemed to stretch endlessly, yet each light and shadow hinted at the past that waited to be revealed. The excitement and anticipation were palpable, a quiet hum of energy that filled the ship. Every member of the crew understood the importance of their mission and the weight of history resting on their shoulders. Dawn's legacy moved steadily through space, carrying its crew toward a destiny that had been waiting for them for centuries. The connection between the ancient ship and the modern humans grew stronger, each learning from the other, building a partnership that would guide them through the challenges ahead. Ryan felt a deep sense of pride and responsibility, knowing that he was leading not just a ship, but a legacy of human ingenuity and resilience. The journey was far from over, but the first steps had been taken, and the crew knew that the adventure had only just begun. Every star they passed, every signal they followed, brought them closer to uncovering the truth of the fleet and the secret history of humanity that had been hidden for so long. Rumors of the ancient ships spread slowly at first, carried by encrypted messages and whispers among space stations and research facilities. The Varan Dominion, a powerful alien empire, took notice when human activity in the uncharted sectors increased. They sent scouts and ambassadors attempting to learn the source of the sudden surge of exploration. Julia Brooks, the human ambassador assigned to interstellar diplomacy, tried to establish peaceful communication. She understood that the Dominion was cautious and aggressive, and that any misunderstanding could lead to conflict. Julia met with Dominion representatives, explaining that humans were simply exploring history and seeking knowledge of their ancestors. The Dominion remained skeptical, sensing a potential threat in the activation of unknown technology. Meanwhile, Ryan Porter and the crew of Dawn's Legacy continued their search for additional ships. Each day brought new signals and anomalies, leading them to abandoned relics that spoke of an age-long past. They discovered Solstice Ark, a ship designed for speed and reconnaissance, drifting silently in a distant star system. Maria Logan worked to restore power in systems, while Chad Rivers analyzed the AI architecture and communications protocols. The AI of Solstice Arc activated slowly, responding cautiously to the presence of modern humans. It spoke of missions and battles that had taken place long before contemporary records existed. Ryan realized that their ancestors had anticipated threats and had prepared fleets not just for exploration, but for defense. The crew felt awe and responsibility, understanding that their mission was no longer about discovery alone. As they continued to locate more ships, including Embertide and Horizon's Vow, tensions grew in human and Dominion space. The Dominion interpreted these activations as a potential challenge to their dominance, and they began mobilizing forces toward human-inhabited sectors. Julia Brooks worked tirelessly, sending messages and negotiating terms, hoping to prevent war. She understood the delicate balance between fear and misunderstanding. The human ships moved cautiously, avoiding confrontation but preparing for defense. Each new vessel brought additional firepower, capabilities, and knowledge of ancient strategies. The crews bonded with the ships and their AI systems, learning how to operate the long-forgotten technology. Training and preparation became daily routines, with Ryan Porter leading simulations and drills to ensure that every crew member understood the potential dangers. The Dominion's fleet grew closer, and it became clear that diplomacy alone might not prevent conflict. Humans began to realize that their ancestors had built these ships for a reason, anticipating challenges that had yet to return. The realization sparked a mixture of pride, fear, and determination. Ryan, Maria, Chad, and their fellow crew members felt the weight of responsibility. They were not only uncovering history, but also protecting humanity from threats that had been foreseen long before they existed. The ancient ships offered more than power. They offered lessons in strategy, resilience, and survival. Each AI shared knowledge about maneuvers, weapon systems, and defensive tactics, providing guidance for the inevitable encounter. Julia Brooks continued to mediate, attempting to explain human intentions and the peaceful purpose of exploration. She faced challenges in convincing the Dominion of human sincerity, as centuries of caution and pride made negotiation difficult. Yet she persisted, believing that understanding and trust could be built even in the shadow of potential war. The human fleet grew stronger as each ship was brought online, systems synchronized, and crews trained. Ryan felt a mix of pride and anxiety, knowing that the moment of truth could arrive at any time. Each day, the scanners detected Dominion ships moving closer, and the humans prepared strategies for defense without showing aggression. The ancient ships seemed to respond to human leadership, their AI systems adapting to the personalities and decisions of the crew. Ryan marveled at the bond forming between humans and technology, a partnership that bridged centuries of history. Maria and Chad worked tirelessly, often spending hours in the control rooms, analyzing systems and preparing for contingencies. Their dedication inspired the rest of the crew, who took on responsibilities with diligence and focus. The anticipation of a possible confrontation weighed heavily, but it also strengthened the resolve of the team. Communication between the ships allowed for coordination and planning, the AI systems providing insights and simulations of potential scenarios. Ryan led discussions, balancing caution with the need to assert readiness. Each ship contributed unique abilities, forming a combined fleet capable of responding to multiple threats. Julia Brooks continued her diplomatic efforts, sending messages and proposals to the Dominion in hopes of delaying or preventing conflict. She appealed to reason, history, and shared experiences, trying to build a bridge between species that had little understanding of each other. Despite the uncertainty, the human crew remained committed to their mission. They had uncovered a legacy of courage and ingenuity, and they were determined to honor it by preparing for any challenge. The knowledge and skills of the ancient ships guided them, offering strategies and tactics that had been lost to history. Ryan felt the weight of leadership, knowing that decisions would affect not just the crew, but the fate of humanity itself. He relied on Maria, Chad, and the AI systems to provide insights and support, trusting their judgment and expertise. Each discovery reinforced the importance of their mission, reminding them that history had shaped the present and would guide the future. The human fleet continued to grow, combining ancient and modern technologies in preparation for encounters that could test every skill they possessed. Ryan, Maria, Chad, and the rest of the crew remained vigilant, learning from the past and preparing for challenges ahead. Julia Brooks continued her tireless efforts, seeking understanding where fear and suspicion might otherwise dominate. The stage was set for a confrontation, yet the humans were not only ready to defend themselves, they were ready to reveal the hidden strength of their lineage and the foresight of their ancestors. Each day brought new lessons, new understanding, and the realization that humanity was more capable and resilient than many believed. The combination of ancient wisdom, modern ingenuity, and the determination of the crew formed a powerful force. They knew that when the moment arrived, they would stand united, not only as humans, but as inheritors of a long-forgotten legacy designed to protect and endure. Xenobiologist Frank Ellis moved carefully through the corridors of Solstice Arc, marveling at the design and technology of the ancient ship. The walls were lined with symbols and glyphs that told a story no one had remembered. Each step he took echoed softly, a reminder that he was walking in the footsteps of humans long gone. He carefully recorded the patterns, the designs, and the information stored in the ship's AI. It was clear that these vessels were built by a civilization that had vanished from history, a people known only as the Architects. Their purpose had been to protect humanity, to ensure survival against threats that had long been forgotten. As Frank studied the glyphs, he felt a connection to the past. The Architects had faced challenges and dangers. Their foresight had created tools and strategies that still held value. Ryan Porter watched Frank work, understanding that knowledge was as important as the power of the ships themselves. Each piece of information could guide them in their mission, helping them prepare for encounters they could not yet predict. Maria Logan and Chad Rivers assisted, analyzing the energy signatures and AI protocols that the glyphs referenced. Slowly, they began to piece together the history of the Architects, their intentions, and the reasons they had hidden these fleets. Every discovery strengthened the crew's resolve, reinforcing the idea that humanity had always been capable of greatness and foresight. The more they learned, the more they realized that the threat the Architects had prepared for might one day return. The fleet was more than a collection of ships. It was a system designed to respond, defend, and survive in ways that modern humans had never imagined. Ryan held meetings with the crew, discussing strategies and sharing the insights Frank had uncovered. The ancient AI systems provided simulations and tactical guidance, teaching the crew how to operate as a single, unified force. Each day they trained, learning to trust the technology and each other. The bond between humans and the ships grew stronger as they navigated deeper into uncharted space. The AI of Embertide and Horizon's Vow joined in coordination, providing a network of knowledge and operational efficiency that had been dormant for centuries. Julia Brooks continued her efforts at diplomacy, communicating with the Varen Dominion and explaining the purpose of the ships. She tried to convey that the fleet was a legacy, not a threat, but the Dominion remained cautious. Messages were sent back and forth, with the possibility of misunderstanding always present. Ryan knew that diplomacy alone might not be enough if the Dominion misinterpreted their actions. He focused on training and preparation, ensuring that the crew could respond to any situation without hesitation. Frank continued to uncover details of the Architects' design philosophy. The ships were built to be adaptive, resilient, and intelligent. Systems could respond to damage, reroute power, and coordinate multiple ships as if they were a single organism. The Architects had anticipated threats that humans had yet to face, creating a legacy that could guide them through dangers beyond current comprehension. As they explored further, crew discovered storage rooms filled with materials and devices that had been preserved for centuries. Weapons, energy cores, and technological artifacts were carefully maintained, waiting for the right time to be used. Maria and Chad worked to understand each system, ensuring that every piece could be operated safely and efficiently. The knowledge they gained allowed them to enhance the ship's capabilities and integrate modern technology where appropriate. Ryan felt the weight of history as he walked the decks, understanding that the decisions he made now would affect not only the crew, but the entire future of humanity. Every training exercise, every strategic discussion, and every discovery reinforced the responsibility they carried. Frank shared stories derived from the glyphs, describing the architects' struggles, their victories, and their wisdom. The crew listened attentively, drawing inspiration and understanding from the lessons of the past. It became clear that the architects had prepared for more than warfare. They had created systems to guide, teach, and protect humanity through generations. Each new discovery brought excitement and a sense of purpose. The crew grew more confident, knowing they were not alone in facing challenges that might lie ahead. The ancient ships were more than machines. They were teachers, guardians, and partners. Ryan and the crew held discussions about the potential threats, using the AI systems and Frank's findings to develop strategies that combined ancient wisdom and modern ingenuity. Each scenario was considered carefully, with contingencies in place for every possible outcome. The ships responded to commands, demonstrating loyalty and intelligence that seemed almost human. As they traveled from one vessel to another, the crew learned to synchronize actions and systems, creating a networked fleet capable of remarkable coordination. The AI provided insights into tactics, history, and the potential dangers that humanity might encounter. Julia Brooks continued her efforts to prevent conflict with the Dominion, explaining the purpose and legacy of the ships while preparing for the possibility that words alone would not suffice. Ryan balanced diplomacy with preparation, ensuring that every crew member was ready to act if necessary. The knowledge of the architects became a guide, shaping decisions and strategies. Each crew member felt a deep connection to the past, inspired by the foresight and skill of those who had created the fleet. The ships carried more than power. They carried the wisdom of generations. Every lesson learned, every system mastered, and every strategy planned strengthened humanity's readiness for challenges that had been foretold long before. The realization that they were the inheritors of such a legacy inspired courage, determination, and unity. Ryan, Maria, Chad, Frank, and the rest of the crew worked tirelessly, preparing for a future that might test every skill, decision, and strategy they possessed. The ancient ships guided them, providing knowledge, support, and power. Humanity's legacy, once hidden, was now alive and ready to face whatever lay ahead. Captain Aaron Blake felt the weight of history on his shoulders as he looked at the ancient warships surrounding the horizon. The galaxy was watching, and every fleet nearby waited to see what humanity would do. Lena Cruz stood beside him, her hands resting lightly on the console as she felt the pulse of energy from the ships. They were alive in a way humans could sense, and their power was immense. The ships had awakened, and with them, humanity's hidden past had come alive. The moment had arrived to claim the fleet fully. Blake and his crew began the activation sequence that would link every ship to human command. Energy surged through the structures, spreading across the hulls in bright patterns that lit up the dark space around them. The warships moved as one, responding to humanity's presence and unlocking technology that had been dormant for millennia. Lena could feel the knowledge from the logs flowing into her mind. She understood that humans were not just inheritors of these machines. They were their rightful masters. The warships were designed to protect, to guard, and to act only when guided by humans carrying the memory fragments of a vanished race. Outside, rival fleets watched with fear and awe. Some ships had tried to approach, but the ancient vessels formed a shield so powerful that no attack could reach the horizon. The energy fields shimmered and pulsed, creating a protective barrier that projected humanity's strength clearly. Captain Blake broadcast a message across all channels. His voice was calm but firm. Humanity has awakened the fleet that was forged before civilizations began. We will protect ourselves and others, and we seek no war. These ships will respond only to humans. Any aggression will not go unanswered. There was silence from the fleets at first. Then one by one, some began to retreat. They realized the power humanity had just demonstrated. Others lingered, curious but wary, unsure of what might happen if they tried to fight. Commander Jason Hale monitored the enemy movements, ready to respond if needed. He felt a mixture of fear and pride. Humanity had gone from being underestimated to becoming the most powerful force many in the galaxy had ever witnessed. Lena Cruz continued working with Dr. Nora Ellis to decode more of the ancient logs. The messages spoke of humans who had lived millions of years before, who had built the fleet to protect the galaxy from threats now long gone. They had left behind instructions, waiting for the moment when humanity would be ready to rise. Lena felt the weight of this responsibility, but also the pride of knowing that humans had never been as weak as other species believed. The warships began to move in patterns that were both defensive and symbolic. They were demonstrating power without destruction. It was a clear message to the galaxy that humanity had returned to claim its place, but not to dominate or destroy. Captain Blake watched the fleet respond to human commands with precision and intelligence. Each ship seemed to anticipate the needs of its crew, reacting faster than any modern computer or weapon. The Horizon floated in the center of this living fleet, small but essential. As the days passed, Blake and his team worked to understand the full potential of the Starforged fleet. Lena discovered engines capable of faster-than-light travel, weapons that could disable fleets without loss of life, and shields that could protect entire star systems. Every discovery added to the understanding that humanity was now the guardian of a force far older and stronger than anything the galaxy had seen. One evening, Lena spoke to Blake in the quiet of the bridge. The logs showed that the fleet was meant to protect civilizations, not destroy them. "We have to use it wisely," Blake nodded. He knew that the galaxy would test them, that some would challenge humanity for control of the fleet. But he also knew that humans had something no one else had, the right to guide these machines and the wisdom to use them responsibly. "Captain." Blake made a decision that would change everything. He broadcasted a new message to the galaxy. Humanity will not use this power for conquest. We are the guardians of the fleet. We will help protect civilizations and prevent the mistakes of the past from returning. Any species that wishes peace and cooperation is welcome. Any species that seeks war will meet the force of the fleet. The response was immediate. Some fleets withdrew entirely, recognizing the authority and wisdom in Blake's words. Others sent emissaries, seeking dialogue and understanding. Slowly, humanity began to reshape the galaxy's view of itself. No longer seen as a young or weak species, humans were now recognized as protectors and leaders. Lena and Nora continued their work, ensuring the fleet's technology could be controlled safely. The warships were powerful, but they were also intelligent, able to respond to threats without causing unnecessary harm. Humanity now had a responsibility that no species had ever faced: to guard the galaxy from dangers that could rise again, and to ensure that the mistakes of the past never returned. Captain Blake looked out from the bridge. Seeing the stars framed by the glow of the ancient ships, he felt hope and pride. Humanity had discovered its own strength, a strength older than any civilization. They had been underestimated for too long, but now the galaxy knew their true power. Lena stood beside him, feeling the pulse of the fleet. Knowing that humanity was ready, the fleets that had once mocked humans now watched in awe. They understood that humans had claimed their place, and that the ancient warships were not weapons of domination, but tools of protection and guardianship. The galaxy had changed in a single moment, and humanity would lead not through fear, through responsibility and strength. For the first time in recorded history, humans were seen as equals and as protectors. The ancient fleet had been awakened, and with it, humanity revealed its secret, that it had always carried the legacy of a vanished race. The knowledge of the stars and the power to guard the future. The Horizon floated among the titanic warships, and the galaxy watched as humans took their place among the stars, ready to protect, ready to lead, and ready to show that they were never weak. Humanity had stepped into a new era. They were the keepers of the star-forged fleet, guardians of civilizations, and a species that no one would ever underestimate again. Lena, Blake, and their crew understood that the journey ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that they were ready. The galaxy had revealed its secrets to humanity, and humanity had accepted the responsibility. For the first time, humans were truly powerful, truly seen, and truly capable of shaping the future of the stars. The fleet pulsed around them, alive and waiting as humanity began its role as the guardian of the galaxy, proving to all that it had never been weak and that the legacy of the ancients had always been waiting for this moment.